Boa noite.
Good evening.
O Centro Regional para
The
o Fomento
Regional
do Livro na
Center
América
for the
Latina e o
Promotion of
Caribe,
Books in Latin America and the
Cerlalc-UNESCO, o
Caribbean,
Ministério da Cultura e o Ministério da
Cerlalc-UNESCO,
Educação
the
do Brasil
Ministry of
e a
Culture and the
Organização de
Ministry of
Estados
Education of
Ibero-Americanos,
Brazil and the
dão
Organization
as
of
boas-vindas
Ibero-American
ao nono Encontro
States,
Ibero-Americano
OEI,
da Rede de
welcome you
Líderes de
to the
Políticas
9th
e Planos de
Ibero-American
Leitura,
meeting of the
Redplanes.
network
A
of those
Redplanes
responsible
é um
for
programa
reading
composto pelos
policies and plans.
responsáveis pelas
Redplanes.
estratégias nacionais
Redplanes is a
de leitura
program
nos ministérios
comprised of
da
those
educação e da
responsible for
cultura
national
dos
reading
21
strategies
países
in the
membros
ministries
do
of
Cerlalc.
education and culture of the
Por meio deste
21
programa,
Cerlalc
criado há
member
mais de 20
countries.
anos,
Through
o
this
Cerlalc
program,
lidera
created more than
iniciativas de
30 years
assistência
ago,
técnica para
Cerlalc
os
leads
países da
technical
região,
assistance
realiza
actions for
pesquisas de
countries in the
campo e desenvolve
region,
processos
conducts field
regionais
research and
de
develops regional
capacitação e
training and
intercâmbio,
exchange
tudo com o
processes
objetivo de
with the
contribuir
aim
para
of
o fortalecimento
contributing
das
to
políticas de
the
leitura,
strengthening of
escrita e
reading, writing, and
alfabetização
the oral
oral
literacy
na
policies
Ibero-América.
in
Em consonância com
Ibero-America.
esse objetivo,
In line with
os
this
encontros da
objective, the
Redplanes são o
Redplanes
principal
meetings
fórum da rede,
are the
proporcionando
network's main working
oportunidades de
space,
transferência de
providing
conhecimento
opportunities for
e
knowledge
colaboração
transfer
regional
and regional
para
collaboration to
promover o
promote the
desenvolvimento
development of
dessas
these
políticas.
policies.
Este evento
This
é
meeting
possível
is possible
graças ao
thanks to
valioso
the valuable
apoio da
support of
Prefeitura
the
do
Rio de
de
Janeiro
Janeiro
City
e
Hall
da Secretaria de
and the
Cultura e
Secretariat
Economia
of Culture
Criativa
and
do
Creative
Estado do Rio
Economy
de
of the
Janeiro,
State of Rio
que
de Janeiro,
acolheram
which
calorosamente este
warmly
evento no
welcomed
âmbito da
this event
designação
within the framework
desta
of
cidade
this
como
city's
capital
designation
mundial do
as
livro da
UNESCO's
Unesco
World Book Capital
2025.
2025.
Saudamos os
We
representantes
greet the
institucionais
institutional
que se juntam a
representatives
nós
who
na mesa principal.
accompany us
Por
at the main
gentileza,
table.
convido
Please, I
Sr.
invite
Márcio
Mr. Márcio
ministro
Tavares,
substituto da
Substitute
Cultura do
Minister of
Ministério da
Culture
Cultura,
of the
Brasil, por
Ministry of
gentileza.
Culture of Brazil, please.
Convido também
I invite also Mr. Anita Stefani,
do
the,
Ministério da Educação, por
from the
gentileza.
Minister of Education, please.
Representando o secretário
Representing
de
the
Cultura
Secretary
do
of Culture of Rio de Janeiro, Mr. Lucas Padilha. Ele falou.
Convido também
I also invite Mrs.
Barona,
Margarita Cuéllar Barona, Director of
Cerlalc-UNESCO.
Cerlalc-UNESCO.
Por gentileza, Sr.
Please,
Alexander
Mr.
Leicht,
Alexander Leicht,
diretor
Director and
regional
representative
da
of the
para a América
UNESCO
Central,
Regional
México e
Desk
Colômbia, por gentileza.
for Central America, Mexico, and Colombia, please. The UNESCO Regional Office.
E Sr. Raphael,
And
Callou,
Mr.
diretor-geral de
Raphael
Cultura
Callou,
da
General
OEI, por
Director
gentileza.
of Culture at OEI.
Por gentileza, podem tomar seus
Please,
assentos. Obrigado.
you can take your seats. Thank you.
Também ampliamos as
We
nossas
also
cordiais
give a
saudações
cordial
ao grupo de
greetings to the
22
group of
delegados
32
da
Redplanes
Redplanes, bem como
delegates,
aos
as well
representantes
as to the
dos Ministérios da
representatives of the
Educação e da
Ministries of
Cultura dos
Education
países
and
membros
Culture
do Cerlalc.
of the Cerlalc
Uma
member
saudação
countries.
especial
A special
aos
greeting
representantes da
to the
comunidade
representatives
dos
of
países
the
de língua
community of the
portuguesa que se
Portuguese-speaking
juntaram a esse
countries
evento para
who
fomentar
have
o
joined
diálogo
this event
entre
to
as
foster
nossas
dialogue
regiões.
between our
Senhora
regions.
Nancy
Mrs.
da
Nancy
Silva Alves
Raisa da Silva Alves
Secretária de
Cardoso,
Estado da
Secretary
Cultura
of State for
Guiné-Bissau.
Culture of Guiné-Bissau.
Senhora
Also,
Diana
Mrs. Diana Dacama Afonso Luruma, Director of the National Library of Angola, and Mrs. Matilde Mendonça dos Santos Moniz, President of the Board of Directors of the National Library Institute from
Também
Cape
parabenizamos os especialistas e
Verde.
representantes
We
de
also
organizações
extend our greetings to
nacionais
the
e
specialists
internacionais
and representatives of the national and international organizations who will participate as speakers, the special guests, as well as the teams from the organization, entities, and partners of this meeting. We also welcome all those from the Ibero-American region who are joining this inauguration through social media.
Agradecemos
We are
especialmente
especially
ao Museu de Arte do
grateful
Rio,
to the Rio
liderado por
Art
seu
Museum,
diretor,
led by
Marcelo
its
Veloso,
director,
e
Marcelo
toda a sua
Veloso,
equipe,
and
por
his
abrir as
entire
portas
team
deste
for
importante
opening the
espaço
doors
cultural
of this
da
important
cidade para assim sediar este evento. Também, claro, agradecemos também nossos tradutores em Libras, Ângel e Salvador, e nos idiomas inglês e espanhol temos Débora e Hermínia e Natália e Igor. Nesta ocasião, o evento reúne aqueles que lideram as políticas de leitura na Ibero-América, bem como especialistas do âmbito regional e internacional, para intercambiar perspectivas sobre o papel da leitura escrita e oralidade para gerar oportunidades de bem-estar e desenvolvimento que beneficiem todos os setores da população. O Brasil, país que assumiu um papel de liderança regional no desenvolvimento de políticas de leitura, cedia esta 9ª edição e compartilhará com todos os países as lições aprendidas e as experiências significativas resultantes de seu trabalho contínuo nessa área. Durante esses dias, os participantes poderão conhecer os compromissos assumidos pelo país para implementar suas políticas de leitura, escrita e bibliotecas, com base em uma visão clara dessas políticas como ferramentas eficazes para alcançar a equidade e fomentar a participação comunitária. Hoje, marca o início de um encontro regional para refletir, compartilhar experiências e trabalhar em conjunto para fortalecer as estratégias nacionais de leitura, para que continuem sendo instrumentos eficazes para a participação democrática, fechando lacunas e reconhecendo a diversidade da nossa região. Iniciamos a cerimônia de abertura de encontro com as palavras, por gentileza, de Raphael Callou. Por gentileza, quando quiser, a palavra é sua.
Muito obrigado.
Ready.
Thank you very much. Thank you to all of you. Thank you very much to all of the ones that are participating in this 9th meeting of Redplanes and in OEI. It's a great pleasure to be able to contribute and help in the organization of this event, which would not be feasible without the support of Cerlalc, an entity in charge of this network that leads all these projects since its very beginning. And we have a great honor to be able to contribute with other editions, and in this case also mainly holding it here in Rio de Janeiro in the context of the city of Rio de Janeiro being a capital, as mentioned by UNESCO, and be able to strengthen and position very well this title and this representation based on objective initiatives as Redplanes proposes to take ahead. And with this meeting that starts today and that has many activities in the next days with more than 120 international guests, which shows us very strongly the representation and the impact of the greatness of this event. So I would like to thank Margarita and your name and your team, this event that is also an alliance based on the efforts of the Ministry of Education and Culture of Brazil, that up to now was also the president of the Council of Cerlalc, and that leads this event. I thank you very much. It wouldn't be able without the agreement of the support of Ministry of Education and Culture in Brazil, and also to acknowledge the support of UNESCO. UNESCO is an ally, but also the City Hall of Rio de Janeiro, that after all is having us in this public space. This is a municipal museum where OEI in the last 5 years, I'm not seeing Marcel here, during the last 5 years has managed this museum managerially and also as a curator with more than 40 exhibitions in the last 5 years, with an average of public of 500,000 people per year. A museum for the population of Rio de Janeiro with specific approach to the youth and mainly also to the outskirts of the city. This museum, former curator head, that is Paulo Requinoff, he made the representation of the museum as being a museum for all. It doesn't want to be central. It wants to be open and representative of all the cultures that illustrate this diversity and this rich mix in its diversity and representation. That is the culture established in Rio de Janeiro that represents very well different cultures and representation that we have in Brazil, and also a representation of what unites us in diversity in the Ibero-American culture that is shown and identifies us through the unity and diversity. This museum is very representative in this space, also known as the Small Africa, that has seen many of the African diasporas during the slavery that also was part of this space, and many other migration and diasporas that were present here in this port space that really represents very well the city of Rio de Janeiro. So here, my acknowledgement to the city of Rio de Janeiro, and in the name of OEI, my acknowledgement extended to all the ones that participate in this program. I would have to mention also that it's very important for us. We understand it's an opportunity to reinforce the union of two ministries, like the Ministry of Education, Ministry of Culture, in an initiative with all these people involved. In the Ibero-American conference that was held a short time ago, as of the pro-temporary presidency of the government of Spain through its Ministry of Culture, and of course with the support and also this process through the Ibero-American Secretary together with OEI. As a result of this process, we established through the statement of the Ministers of Culture an Ibero-American Network for Artistic and Cultural Education. As a result of this great process of articulation of all the efforts in formal spaces and informal spaces of education in art and culture. OEI will take ahead this project and more materialize and have efforts with other governments, with other institutions and organizations to strengthen ourselves and all the links of articulation between culture and education ministries of the region. OEI, for those that don't know, is intergovernmental Ibero-American body of 23 member countries, in Brazil, of course, is one of them. Together with the 22, our headquarters in Madrid with 19 offices in all Ibero-America and about 120 projects guided to culture in the Ibero-American context. Without any doubt, for us, it's a reason for a lot of celebration, of course, a lot of work, because we're always at your disposal for more and more strengthen the culture Ibero-American cooperation. We understand that this cooperation is only possible when you have joint efforts and work in articulation for results in benefit of culture, education, and science in Ibero-American. So once again, to all our allies that allowed us the feasibility of this meeting, thank you very much, and I am at your disposal for us to be able to reinforce cultural cooperation in Ibero-America. Thank you. Thank you, Director.
I will pass the floor to Mr. Alexander.
Não se escuta? Não está ouvindo. We're sorry we cannot hear the audio we don't hear the audio in the booth. We're very sorry. This space is very important for this call for action. This call for action shows its presence and shows that you believe in international cooperation, you believe in the mutual understanding and learning, mutual learning. This is very important to keep this spirit at a time where above all, from the United Nations, we have many questionings to multilateralism, to see international cooperation in practice in a very, very concrete approach as you are living it is essential and a great goal. And also this meeting reaches an important moment because, of course, the sector of books and reading is not a space that is isolated in the society. The society is affected by many challenges that we're facing, climate change, and the great gaps in technological advances, mainly with artificial intelligence. So we have all these challenges, and we have to respond to them, but also the plans for books and policies for reading can be a great tool to respond to all these changes. Among many other powerful ones that are a result of policies, the reading will contribute to cultural diversity. We all know that this year we celebrate 20 years of the Convention of UNESCO for the promotion of diversity in culture, and in this implementation of the convention during the last 20 years, the books and reading has always had a very important role, essential one. And once again, thank you very much for being here. UNESCO, always the agency of the United Nations that always works in favor of culture with a mandate in culture, will always be supporting the space of literature, reading, and books. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Alexander. Kindly, we pass the floor to Margarita Barona. Good evening. It's a great honor for me to be here all this night and giving a welcoming remarks to the 9th Redplanes meeting, and the program that has been led for more than 20 years, and this is the 9th presidential face-to-face meeting, and we're very happy that it can be held in Rio de Janeiro, the capital city books named by UNESCO for this year, and also the city of our country that until today had the presidency of our council. So we are called in this space with a common interest for reading, because in fact we have to understand that reading is a right that is a condition that is a right. It's a right that allows for citizens to have democracy. So I won't take a long time to show my appreciation, because you know an event like this one is not reachable with only we had to have the participation of many players, and we'd like to show my deep acknowledgement to Minister Margarita that was not able to be here, and she has been a leader, and her team had impeccable solidarity with our center. Also thank her for her presidency. Sadly, we say goodbye to her, and also with Colombia, and to the Ministry of Education in Brazil for adding itself to the meeting. Is very important, because in these spaces, of course, we have education and culture. They have a natural dialogue among themselves and should be really kept in this. I also show my acknowledgement to OEI, that this year is co-organizer of this event and has been a great ally in the development of this meeting and the days to follow. And also I show my acknowledgement to the government of Rio de Janeiro and the authorities for opening the doors. I said it during the council, and I can mention it's not a sacrifice to come to Rio de Janeiro. Thank you very much. If we can have more events here, we would be very happy to be here in this marvelous city. And I would take advantage of another moment, because all these bodies have faces, and these faces are the ones that work in order for these events to be able to exist. So I would like to show my acknowledgement to the Minister of Culture, Mr. Tavares. I have to mention he's here in a very an act of solidarity because he had a very long day, and I think his commitment is reaffirmed. He continues being sat here with us, and also because Secretary of the Ministry of Culture of Brazil, and Assunção of the Cultural Ministry of Mrs. Andressa Marques. I haven't seen her here, coordinator of the Ministry of Culture also of Brazil, and the Minister of Education of Brazil, Anita Stefani, that is here with us today in her action of education here in Brazil, and OEI, and Janeiro, and also Callou and his team joining with a co-organizer of this 9th meeting of Redplanes. And Mr. Lucas Bezier, Secretary of Culture, Rio de Janeiro, and Barros, Secretary of State, Economy of the State of Rio de Janeiro, and Enrique Dal, that is here representing Marcelo. Sorry, there's a problem with the mic. And also the Museum Mar. Sorry, we had some problems with the mic. For having us in their house, very emblematic and wonderful place in the city of Rio de Janeiro, and also want to thank all the teams that have participated. I will also show my great acknowledgement to my team, working team, Jamie Hernandez, Helena Planches, and Cindy Cinquentes, that have worked without any rest for the last 6 months. And Jefferson can confirm this. So he is exhausted. I'm going to tell you, you can rest a little bit now. So my great respect and appreciation to these women that have led this event. And on the side of Brazil, I have to also mentioning and showing my appreciation to the incredible team of the Ministry of Culture and Education, Mr. Bruno Melo, Mrs. Ana Castro, João Donato, Marina Rebelo, Ohana Gladys, Igor Jimenez, Nadia Cesar, Ibna Hiron, that also have been all day long checking if everything is working correctly. And we say this will not stop today. It will never stop, and with the help of everybody. Barros, Anita Stefani, Saline Cardoso, Carlos da Silva, and from Rio, Susana Vers. Excuse me if I'm not pronouncing correctly. Luciana Nepomuceno, Janet Dale, Tamines Cursino, and Carlos Ores. Sorry if I'm not pronouncing correctly the names. This meeting is not a technical meeting. It is an act of political will and cooperation. Today we have to renew our international pacts because they're tools for social transformation and equity. And this morning, more than half a century passed since Cerlalc started, and had an important impact in the region, a region that we continue facing enormous problems in culture and education. So this day determines the formation of citizenship that can specify the course of a nation, empower citizenship. And this morning, Mr. Fabiano mentioned Paulo Freire, an educator, and I also want to remind him, because he reminds us that reading is understanding of reality, and this person, Paulo Freire, allowed the transformation. This is our mission, the mission that was asked to all the members' countries. These following days give proof of collective work that we're holding each territory with different focus and common challenges, with a deep conviction that read and write is a right and not a privilege. So from UNESCO, we state the commitment and the technical follow-up of everybody that is here. I think we're going to have very important following days, and we believe surely will help to strengthen the capacity building in order for this word, for each criança, I love this word criança, and each person have the right to read, write, dream, and imagine. So I thank you very much. to have made this possible. I thank all that are here and allow this space is wonderful. And I think also to have this audience that believes that another future is possible and that this future starts with a word, a book, and a shared reading. Thank you very much.
Now we'll pass the floor to Mr. Henrique. Please, the floor is yours. Sorry, the audio is not reaching the book. We cannot receive the audio in the book to proceed with the translation. Sorry, the audio is not reaching the book. I would like to thank UNESCO that gave us this title that is so important for us, because it's not only an opportunity to celebrate the literal heritage from Rio and from Brazil that is wonderful, but also to deep our policies on this way that turns this more feasible. And I would like also to say that it's not only a privilege from you to be in Rio de Janeiro, but it's also a privilege for the Brazilian. And for example, I'm from São Paulo, I'm not from Rio, so I'm also very happy to be here in Rio de Janeiro. And this is very symbolic, in fact, because this shows how Rio de Janeiro has power to be the protagonist of this debate in the country. And I also must thank, on behalf of Anita, the Minister Márcio, the partnership with the federal government that is showing very important for us, our affinity, our way to see the challenges of the literacy. And I would like also to greet someone from the audience, that is the Secretary Piumba, that is being very important in this area, in this link with the federal government. I would like to say briefly how the City Hall of Rio is working the vision of the policies on reading in the context of being the world capital of the book. I think that the best way to express this thinking is through our municipal program of reading that after many years being debated, it's about to be completed, published, and this is an important milestone for the city of Rio, especially in this rich context of being the world book capital. And I would like also to thank Renata, that is here in the audience as well, and I need her patience, and she's an expert on this topic. But I would like to say briefly that this municipal plan of reading, it's organized into 4 axes that I consider very important on the development of our policies. The first one is to consider the democratization on the access to reading in terms of infrastructure, physical access. And I would like to highlight one of the main axes in this way, that is the support of the communitary libraries, because the civil society does a wonderful work, and if we are not able as a public power to support the civil society on these initiatives that change local realities, we would be facing the bad situation. We need the partnerships with the civil society and the government. The second axis is the axis of literacy. We have a serious concern to make clear that the reading policies are not for the cultural producer, not for the publisher. All the pieces are fundamental on this game, in fact, but the reading policies are for the citizen that we want to stimulate the habits of reading. And how do we see this? The Secretary Padilha used to say something that sometimes we see as irreverent, but reading is something that is, sometimes it may say that it's useless, but it's at the same time it's fundamental. In Brazil, we used to consider reading as a tool of literacy. We talk about literacy, but from our perspective of culture, there is an important ingredient missing. That is the literacy. We are talking about the deep relation with the text, the way that the text is transforming us as human beings and how it's connecting us with the others. I always mention Mikhail Bakhtin, a Russian philosopher, and he says that with the books we can connect with the time. This is one of the fundamental principles of the pedagogy. And the third axis is the industry of the book, the economy of the book. We need to look to this with a lot of attention, to the libraries, to the publishers, because the new dynamics of the market with the new technologies, the new way to work with books, this created a situation that we no longer can look to the books, to the stores as a market agency. They became cultural agents that we must protect, because the publishers, especially the independent publishers, they are fundamental for the diversity, and the stores, bookstores, are an important cultural agent that we must preserve. And the fourth axis is to stimulate the artist, because through this stimulus we have opportunities not only to export our culture and to show the world who we are and the excellence of what we produce, but it's something also particular that has to do with Rio de Janeiro. We must have a discussion about what is the classic literature. Rio de Janeiro is a city with some contracts. We have the Brazilian Academy of Letters, but we have different modalities of literature that are on the streets. An example of this is samba dance. And today this is very important for our culture. So we have the title of the World Book Capital, but we have the single opportunity to show the world our literary heritage, not only in the more traditional way of the institutions as the Brazilian Academy of Letters that has a fundamental role, but also considering all these other axes of creation, artist creation in the city of Rio de Janeiro and Brazil. There are equally meaningful and then can have people being connected deeply with the Brazilian culture. So briefly talking about our municipal plan of reading, in which we will have the origin of the other policies of readings that we are developing over the year, and we will develop over the coming years as well. Thank you. Thank you.
Kindly with the floor, Mrs. Stefani, the floor is yours. Good evening to all of you. First of all, I would like to show my appreciation to the Ministry of Education in the name of the Minister Márcio, and to all the team, Secretary Fabiano, Jefferson, Nadia, Andres, and all the team that is here leading this meeting. To our partners of OEI, Cerlalc-UNESCO, that bring all our guests here in this such an important discussion. Brazil is very honored to be hosting this meeting, and the City Hall of Rio de Janeiro also for being our physical host, and it's always nice to be here. And what a wonderful work you're holding while in Brazil. We're very honored to have the capital of book recognized here by UNESCO. So in first place, in the Ministry of Education, I would like to welcome all of our colleagues from different countries. The Minister Camilo Santana could not be here today, and this week we are celebrating the Day of Professors and Teachers here in Brazil, October 15. We'll have a huge event on Wednesday with President Lula and Minister Camilo. So it's always a very strong week, the week of the professors and children, and the Day of the Children was yesterday. And it's very symbolic to have this event of reading, diversity, and democracy in this context. Perhaps if this event would have been 3 years ago, we wouldn't be able to hold it. Brazil went through challenging times, in order not to say suffocating times in education and culture. And I think it's very symbolic that the motto for the event of today speaks about reading, diversity, and democracy, because it's very important. These values are very important for us. In the Ministry of Education and the partnership with the Ministry of Culture, stronger every day. They always say MEC, that is the acronym of the Ministry of Education. The MEC, the C was of culture, represents culture. And nowadays we have two strong ministries of education and culture in Brazil to face the challenges of the Brazil, as it's a continental country, we have to face them. But we cannot do this isolatedly or in uncontinued ways. So the work that we're holding, joining education and culture, has been very inspiring, because in education, mainly when we talk about basic education in Brazil, we're talking about 47 million of students from 0 to 17, 18 years old. So it's the size of many countries. Only at school, when we think about school as a space that is a privilege for transformation, of development, and also where culture has a fundamental role. So we're working in our schools with the concept of a whole development, and reading the book, the capacity building of readers has a very strong role. And since the kindergarten, and primary grade, we're working, we have corners of reading, incentivizing and supporting mediators and teachers are reading from nursery school and going through learning how to read and write. It's a great challenge here in Brazil in order to ensure that during school life and the life of people, of Brazilian people, reading is a right to have them to read the world. The capacity of reading helps us to understand and interpret the world and to live better. That is something that we wish for all the citizens. So there is an issue of development, and it's very important. Culture is part of this since the very beginning of school life here in Brazil. And we also have the use of materials and bookworks and didactic materials to incentivize reading and knowledge as a right. We have in the Ministry of Education in Brazil the greatest program of distribution of books in the world in terms of quantity and bibliodiversity, because we consider very important the diversity in literacy. So the Ministry of Education, beside the books that every year reach the schools and reach all the students, recently we approved an increase in the decree that distributes books at schools to enable the distribution of literature beyond schools, in public libraries, community libraries, understanding that education and culture have to happen in social environments, in environments that are beyond education, beyond the walls of a school. And that's what we're being able to do, and we're sure that it will boost and continue doing it with many libraries that were closed down in the last years, and we agree very much with what was mentioned. We have to ensure that libraries and bookstores and cultural spaces for reading as a legacy of our society. So this is a great challenge also to ensure resources for culture, for education, and to show the importance of all this. We're always talking about budget. There are a lot of priorities. A developing country like ours has a lot to advance in many aspects of the society, economy, but this government has a commitment with education and culture, and we have shown it not only in their plans and retaking many actions that had been stopped or not considered, but investing and ensuring good deliveries and important advances for society. I thank you very much, all of you that are here. I'm sure we have very pleasant days for exchanges and to have a joint work with a network that is stronger with culture, books, and incentives for the development, reading societies that have to be stronger. And I thank very much for the opportunity. I reinforce the commitment of Education Ministry for us to have more and more the education and culture together in the next times. Thank you.
We pass the floor to the Substitute Minister of Culture from the Ministry of Culture in Brazil, Dr. Márcio. Thank you, everyone. It's a joy to be here in the opening of the 9th Ibero-American meeting of Redplanes, sharing this panel with such important colleagues in this journey to empower the public policies of reading, books, literature, libraries in Latin America and the Caribbean in the Ibero-American space. I would like to greet Raphael Callou, that is the Director of Culture from OEI, and thanking for the support and collaboration for having this initiative, but also all the set of initiatives that we have been working and developing on the area of book. So it's been a partner very important. The same I would say regarding Unespa, Alexandre Leicht, and the support that we have been receiving, the cooperation with UNESCO and this management. We retook the acting of culture together with UNESCO, and this is resulting in very important projects, not only this one, but the different fronts on acting. So it's a partnership that is very important. I would like to thank a lot Margarita from Cerlalc for the support that she's developing on this center. That is a center very important for the promotion of the policies for books in our region, and also due to the shared work on the last 2 years where we had the opportunity to lead the ministry. Margarita Menezes is on a deserved vacation, so a very short vacation, by the way, but she led the council of for the last 2 years, and now we are passing to Colombia the presidency of the council. But I would like to thank and honor the work that we have been developing, empowering the center that is completing 50 years of services provided for this agenda, that for sure in the coming years and based on the decisions that we take today will have more and more capacity to act on the building of policies and cooperation in the area of our region. I would like also to greet and to thank the reception from the City Hall of Rio de Janeiro through the Callou, extending Lucas Padilha, that is a great partner of the Municipal Secretary of Culture, and all the support and possibilities of acting together, not only favoring the policies for book and literature, library, but also the set of public policies that we have a deep affinity and capacity of acting together between the government of Brazil and the government of the city of Rio de Janeiro. So thank you very much. Lastly, I would like to thank Nita for this partnership that is very important between the Education Ministry and the Culture Ministry. This partnership that since the beginning We have the Secretary Fabiano Piuna, that is the Secretary of the Cultural and Artists Formation. Since the reading up to the beginning of our retaking of the Cultural Ministry, that is being structuring on the set of policies and also regarding the policies for this area of book. So it's a joy to be here sharing this moment with you. I would like to extend my gratitude to Jefferson Assunção, that is our Director of Book Reading and Literature and Library. It's a long name. It's a department that has a policy that even bigger and more important than the length of the name. I would like to thank for the work. I would like to thank the colleagues and the entities that are here from Book, Enrique Vargas that is here as well. And also I'm a little bit nervous because it's the first time that a student of history in the beginning of the 2000, that's the first time that has in the audience a history professional as Jati, that is a personality that is fundamental for the cultural studies that develop, and he developed here in Brazil an important set of followers and people that based on his researches are exploring the history of book, of literature, and this makes me a little bit nervous. I would like to thank a lot you for being here, and I would like to say that tomorrow it will be in our schedule. He will be in our schedule. It's very special to be able to receive all of you that are here in this city. My apologies to the visitors, but besides being the most wonderful city in the world, but in this year of 2025 received the title, as Enrique mentioned, that honors a lot us. That is the book, the World Book Capital, defined by UNESCO in 2025. I would like to highlight this once more because the Portuguese language is the most spoken language in the South Hemisphere. So below the equator is the most spoken language in the world, and it's the first time that a city with a Portuguese language is recognized as the world capital of the book. So we are very honored to have this acknowledgement, and also we extend this acknowledgement to the community of the countries with Portuguese language that we have here, representatives from Angola, Cape Verde, Guinea-Bissau, that are with us in this journey. So we share these honors that for sure will be the first in many other cities of Portuguese languages, because the Portuguese language is one of the most diverse that we have in the countries, and always contributing for the growth. And we believe on the power of the transformation of the written word, and this has been very special. This is a date that is allowing us an engagement on new policies. The government of the President Lula has a historical commitment with culture and democratization of the access on knowledge. In this scenario of celebration of reading and literature, we are together to talk about reading, diversity, and democracy. These are three topics that enforce our convictions on talking about book reading, literature. This is about to build citizenship. It's to believe deeply on the power of reading as a fundamental tool for the development of a society that with more justice, criticism, and democracy. The reading opens doors for new worlds and allows us to know other realities, and also to build our own identity as citizens. And with our participation in Brazil, we have a commitment and renewed with the democratization of the access to book and reading. Our national plan of book and reading, the PNLL, that is under on a final phase of construction from 2025 to 2035, will reflect this commitment. We want to ensure that more and more Brazilians will have the access to libraries, books, and the programs to build readers that can respect our cultural diversity. And this is also an act of historical repair. And this is true. Then is a historical data. We are a country that started printing books in the beginning of the 19th century. The first 4 centuries of our existence as a country, and still as a colony here, it was forbidden to print books, and this generated a huge delay. And today we want to have a country of readers. We have a country that was prepared before with images, before considering the literary repertoire, and this is a challenge today for the democratization in an era of fake news and the dispute for attention and other elements that are impacting a lot the building of the democratic life. And that's why these policies are so important, considering this dimension of citizenship. So I would like to highlight that this new plan was built in a process of participation that for sure should have a highlight in the countries of the Redplanes, because it was done through a public consultations with a lot of active contributions from the civil society, building that there is an engagement, a deep engagement and an interest from the Brazilian population for the policies for the area.
This participative project reflects the commitment of Brazilian's government for the democratic building of public policies. We understand through disputes we build public policies that are able to respond much more to the wishes of citizens to have more effectiveness in the territory in their performance. The articulation between both ministries, education and culture, have been fundamental in this process, and I highlight above all the partnership that has been commented by Anita with the National Fund for Development of Education, FND, with the distribution of collections for private and public libraries and for the restoration of the public libraries. This is the most extensive system in the country, with 5,293 public libraries in the country, in all the states and the capital, represented an important network for the reading, without mentioning the huge amount of community libraries through which this year of the greatest government movements of literature in the planet, more than 10 million books of literature were acquired and will go to all the public and community libraries in Brazil. And this means not only a process of an event, but also a policy of continuity. As of now, as all the collections of school libraries are renewed every year, this also will happen with the public and community libraries having a greater access, ensuring the bibliodiversity with access to literary production and stimulating the productive chain of literature and publishing market in Brazil. On October 1st, we start distributing these books, and we'll give a follow-up from up to the end of this process. And we speak about access. We try to find access for everybody without exception. That's why it's fundamental to have this, to have readers in the indigenous people and immigrants. The libraries being community, public, or school libraries have to be spaces of diversity where all the voices can be heard, all the cultures valued, and all the knowledge is respected. That's why we're having a new process of new networks through the 220 cells of culture that we will build, that are centers of culture that will be installed in the vulnerable regions of the country, all of them having library through the new network of cells that are the equipments, mobile equipments that all have a library, new library that assures the access to rural areas, distant areas that normally don't have access to cultural infrastructure. That is through new libraries that now will follow the program of our new housing that is covering more than 5 million homes That is a program called Minha Casa, Minha Vida, and all the home programs funded by the federal government will be followed by a library, community library, that will also be furnished with books through the program of partnership between the Ministry of Education and Culture. So in this sense, I will also celebrate and highlight the 20th meeting of indigenous authors here in Janeiro between October 15 and 17 here in the MAD, and October 18 in the Fundação Casa Rui Barbosa. This meeting that is already 20 years of existence is a landmark of cultures of the indigenous people and a live example of force and diversity in cultural production in Brazil. It is also a proof of how public policies can and should embrace plurality of voices and languages that are part of our identity, Ibero-American. And we also would like to highlight the award Viva a Leitura, another initiative jointly with the Ministry of Culture and Education that tries to recognize and value the initiatives in the promotion of writing and reading and literature. This award has had a record of application. The award will be at the beginning of December with 550,000 reais for 5 different categories, being one more source to stimulate reading and capacity building of new readers. The joint building of the new plan by Mink and Mac includes important challenges with policies of literacy through reading and activities in schools. And recently also we started with art policy in the schools that include also the dimension of literature inside this dimension. Many of the policies that I'm mentioning here, some of them are new and very important news, and others are being retaken, like Anita mentioned. They are reconstruction and retaking policies that couldn't have ever been discontinued due to the importance that they had for the country, but they were discontinued in a criminal way by the previous government, and every time there's a discontinuity in these policies, the impact is dramatic, not only for the book readers, but also for the capacity building of citizenship, because we know that if a child, until they're 12 years of age, don't have the habit of reading, it's very difficult that afterwards they will have this habit. When you remove culture, when you remove art from schools, when you remove writers from schools, this process complicates, and we restarted this policy, and Redplanes, that is a very dear network of Ibero-American countries, has a very important role in the strengthening of these policies in other regions. The last meeting held in Panama was a success in terms of exchange of experience and the building of common agendas, and I am sure that this meeting in Rio de Janeiro will be equally productive and inspiring. I wish you all that the following days in the Ibero-American Redplanes be of a lot of mutual learning, exchange, inspiration. Together we may have a future with more books, more literature, more diversity, and more citizenship for all of our people. Thank you very much, and excellent following days for all of you. Thank you very much, Mr. Márcio, and we request kindly you be all in line for an official photo. While they do this, we'll give you some notice thanking you all for being here, the main team, and we consider this opening of this event, invite you all for a cocktail upstairs, and also it's important for you to use your badges in order to be able to participate in the cocktail. And remind you also this event goes until Thursday. Good evening, good cocktail, thank you, until tomorrow.